So our next topic is reabsorption of various types of substances in the renal tubule. So first of all, let's see PCT, or the proximal convoluted tubule. We will discuss it substance by substance. So the first substance is glucose. Okay, so glucose is 100% reabsorbed in the proximal convoluted tubule. First of all, on the luminal membrane we have SGLT2, which is sodium glucose cotransporter 2, and after this transporter, glucose come in the cell of the PCT, and from this cell it goes into the capillary by GLUT2, which is present in the basolateral membrane. So on the luminal side, glucose enters the cells through SGLT2, and on the basolateral membrane through GLUT2 it goes into the capillary, and 100% of the glucose is absorbed through this manner. So in the remarks we can see that when the plasma glucose concentration is 80 mg per deciliter, the filtered load of glucose is 100 mg per minute, and this renal threshold is 180 for venous blood and 200 mg per deciliter for the arterial blood. When this threshold is reached, glucose will now be secreted in the urine, and now the filtered load become 375 mg per minute. So when we calculate it, it's not 180 or 200. So this is the observed value, but the calculated values are different. So this difference is known as splay. So splay is due to various reasons. Some of them are, first of all, that this renal threshold is not same for all the 2 million nephrons in both the kidneys, and another is that during the course some glucose is reabsorbed above its renal threshold also. So the next ion is sodium. Sodium, first of all, on the luminal side in the PCT, it is absorbed into the cell by sodium glucose transporter, that is SGLT2, and sodium hydrogen exchanger. So in this we need to maintain neutrality. So for one sodium which enters the cell, one chloride is also entering the cell, and for one H plus ion which is leaving the cell, one HCO3 minus ion is entering the cell. So now we have sodium inside the cell. Through the basolateral membrane, by the help of sodium potassium ATPase, sodium is pushed into the lateral intercellular spaces. So now we have sodium in the lateral intercellular spaces. So 2/3 of the sodium enters this space through sodium potassium ATPase, and another 1/3 of the sodium, how does it enters? First of all, there is some sodium in the lateral intercellular space. As it is osmotically active, it will take water along with it. So the movement of water will also move sodium along with it, and other 2/3 of the sodium is moved with the help of energy provided by sodium potassium ATPase. Then no sodium is reabsorbed in the thin descending loop of Henle because it is impermeable to sodium and chloride ions. But the ascending loop of Henle has two parts. One is the thin part and other is the thick part. In the thin part, sodium is reabsorbed along with the chloride passively, and in the thick ascending loop of Henle, sodium is reabsorbed by the help of sodium potassium ATPase and N-triple-C transporter. What is this? It is sodium, chloride and potassium co-transporter. Then we come in DCT and collecting duct. In the distal convoluted tubule and the collecting tubule, 3/4 of the sodium is reabsorbed passively along with the chloride, and 1/4 of the sodium is transported or exchanged along with H plus ions and K plus ions. And what is the remark? Here we see glomerulotubular balance. So what does this balance means? It means that firstly let's see the general situation. The amount of the sodium reabsorbed is very high, and the glomerular filter, the amount of sodium in the glomerular filtrate is also very high. So if we keep amount of sodium which is reabsorbed constant, what will happen? A mere small change in GFR will almost double the amount of sodium excreted in urine. And if we just decrease GFR to some points, the amount of sodium in the urine can also come to zero. So therefore, the amount of reabsorbed sodium cannot be held constant. It is indirect proportional to the GFR. So whenever the GFR increases, amount of the sodium reabsorbed also increases. This is known as glomerulotubular balance. So the next ion is potassium. 90% of the potassium is actively reabsorbed in PCT, and 75% of potassium is secreted in DCT and collecting duct. Next we will see chloride ion. The chloride ion, first of all, we saw in the sodium that it passively enters the tubule along with sodium, and after that in the thick ascending loop of Henle, with the help of N-triple-C transporter on the luminal side, it enters inside the cell, and after that it goes into capillary by exchanging with potassium ion. After that we have water. So 75% of total water is passively absorbed in PCT with the help of aquaporin 1. This is obligatory water reabsorption. After that, in thin descending loop of Henle, it is reabsorbed with the help of aquaporin 1, and as the water is reabsorbed but the ions this membrane, this tubule is impermeable, so the urine is hyperosmolar or the fluid is hyperosmolar. After that, in the thick ascending loop of Henle, it is impermeable to water, so no water is reabsorbed, but it is permeable to the ions, so the ions are reabsorbed, thus the fluid forming here is hypotonic. In DCT and collecting duct, water is reabsorbed through aquaporin 2, and ADH increases the reabsorption by increasing the pore size of aquaporin 2. So this was all about reabsorption of major substances in the renal tubule.